Good morning, everyone. So we are 74 days out from the wedding. So 74 days seems such like a long time, but it's at the same time, it's like just around the corner. It's gonna come here before I know it. So today's leg day. I've got my breakfast, pre-workout meal. So same as what I always do. Nothing, it's always the same for me. I always have my pre-workout meal. If my pre-workout meal is a breakfast meal, it will always be the same. I've got my 3 eggs, I've got my bread, my toast, I've got my banana, which I like to smash up, put some cinnamon on, and I've got my YoPro. Now, I have to I love the pouches, but they look so kitty, especially when I can see myself in this camera here, just having my little YoPro pouch. I seem like a little kid. I prefer the actual containers, but when these are on sale, you gotta go with the YoPro. Now, I don't care what anyone says, banana and vanilla, top tier. They're definitely the #1 flavors. I would then put, so we got banana, then we got vanilla. I would then put mango passion fruit. So they're up there, mango passion fruit. Then I would go I'm forgetting a flavor. Not cinnamon, it's what is it? I can't remember. There's one flavor where it's like those brown, golden, square things. I'll put a picture up, I can't remember now. There's that one. Then I would put blueberry and at the very bottom strawberry. Like if you like strawberry, you're just weird. You're a weirdo. So yes, definitely banana. So, gonna eat breakfast, then we're gonna go hit some legs. I don't know why, I always get a little bit nervous with legs. Like it's excitement, but nervous. I always feel like, just that feeling of just like pushing yourself with legs is just mentally hard. Anyway, gonna eat my breakfast, get in there. I know some people might think, when I mentioned before, like, I eat the same breakfast, like, doesn't that get boring? Not really, honestly. Like, you gotta keep in mind, like, one of the best ways to help you achieve your health goals or your fitness goals, whether it's putting on muscle or losing weight, consistency is a huge, huge thing. If you know what you're having day in, day out, yes, for some people that might get a little bit boring and that actually prevents them from getting on track, but I actually think for a solid chunk of time, just doing the same thing again and again, it helps it make it part of your daily routine, right? Sometimes too much change, it's too almost radical. It's almost like it's too, not radical, but what's the word? It's inconsistent, and we're trying to get consistency. We're trying to make healthy eating, we're trying to make exercise part of our routine, and making your workouts at a similar time, eating similar meals, can just help you keep you on track, right? And now, don't get me wrong, if you're someone who gets super bored of the same thing, and that's gonna prevent you from achieving your goals, you're gonna do what's gonna be best for you. But I really would advocate and recommend for people that try, if you feel like dieting or trying to eat like healthy foods consistently, try to have like 3, 4 meals, 5 meals a day, that don't change too much throughout the week. Especially like Monday to Friday, especially your weekdays, your work days, where you're getting up at a similar time, you eat at a similar time because of, maybe your lunch breaks, your snack breaks, your dinner times, the times you eat around your workouts. Try to make them the same kind of meals. It can just help you keep it consistent. So before you work out, you're gonna eat, whatever it is. Maybe it's a chicken sandwich or some chicken and rice or salmon and potatoes, whatever it is, right? It can just help you, all right, before I get to work, I know I'm gonna have my, my green smoothie or whatever it is, right? It just can help you when you know what your set meals are, it removes any variability and it just can make it a lot easier to stay consistent. So if you've always found that a little bit challenging, try that. Try to make it, every day, your 3, 4, 5 meals are the same, or maybe, meal 1, breakfast, you alternate between just two meals. So Monday it might be a smoothie, next day it might be a sandwich, and you alternate every second day with those 2 meals, like trying to keep it less sometimes more can be, it's almost too many balls you're trying to juggle, right? Less can be more sometimes. So that's a helpful little tip. Keep that in mind. So I'm gonna eat this, and then I'll see you at the gym for our leg workout. So did all my pre-activation exercises. So pre-activation exercises for me are doing some glute work and some core work. So when we squat, the glutes and our core, our trunk are so important when it comes to squatting as efficiently, as strongly as possible, and not letting that lower back kick in. Because especially for 90% of people who sit at a desk, your glutes and your core switch off. And that's why a lot of people, like, their lower backs really get a pump, and because they're working overtime. So a lot of people, when they squat, they're like, I feel a lot in my lower back. To not let that be an issue, you've got to do some glute and some core work. So that's something I make sure I do every time I squat. It's a must. It's part of just my routine. So I've done that. I've done my warm-up squats. We're aiming for 4 sets. Last time we were able to do this weight for 13, 13, 11, 11. I want to see if I can get that 13, 13, even if it's 12, 11, or if I can do 13, 13, 13, 13. Trying to do a bit better than I did last time. It's always our goal, a little bit better than last time. So let's get it. That felt really good. Went for 15 there, got 13. I'm like, nah, that was too easy. So I'm gonna put my timer on. I like to keep track of how long I'm resting for, because it makes it, you don't want to be resting for like 5 minutes, talking and wasting so much time. 1, it's probably a little bit overkill. 2, you're gonna be in the gym all day. 3, keeping it with a time constraint makes it a little bit harder. So I would always recommend roughly 2 to 3 minutes. But most people are doing their sets. That's probably a good time, at least a minute. No need to do 30 seconds. Even a minute I think is a little bit too short. I would definitely recommend 2 to 3 minutes. So that felt really good. Hit 15 there. Really love the belt squat. I just feel like when we're focused on hypertrophy, we want to take the muscle to complete failure. Doing a back squat and focusing on hypertrophy is not the most ideal thing, because most people find that they fatigue biomechanically as opposed to their legs fatiguing. Like they almost fatigue to hold good form with a barbell squat because it's quite hard, it's quite taxing. Now, that's specifically for hypertrophy training. If you want to work on overall strength training, or most people just want to build day-to-day strength and muscle size, I think mastering a barbell squat is so important because it's such a compound movement and you're learning to engage different muscle groups, like I talked about your glutes, your core, even your back muscles to hold that barbell. They're muscles that we neglect in our day-to-day life that we need to use during our day-to-day life. So a barbell squat I would recommend for many people to use. However, for my specific goals, where I'm really just focused on hypertrophy training, the belt squat allows me to take my quads a little bit further without worrying about maintaining the structure of a barbell squat. So that's why I really like the belt squat. So first set, that one's done. Cool. Let's see how we go. Moving on. Thing I'm doing different from last week, I have moved the belt notch. There's 4 holes. I always have it on the 3rd hole, closest towards me. This time I put on the 4th hole. I'm feeling stronger, but I'm not sure why that would be the case. The only thing I can think of is by putting the notch closer to me, I'm guessing it allows it to be more directly under my hips and under my feet, because I can imagine putting the hook, the belt further away. It's almost where my legs are trying to push up and the belt's out like this way. Biomechanically, I'm not going to be my strongest, right? Because the force of when I'm squatting, when I squat down, I'm squatting up. So I want, I guess, the distribution of the weight to come up with me. So if that's further away, that hook, maybe that's why it's harder. So when it's more under me, I'm able to produce more force up. If I'm thinking just, that makes sense in my head, that could be completely wrong, but just trying to think about it, I think that's what's going on. Yeah. That previous set, you may have noticed, I was going slow on there. I was trying not to stop. I was telling myself, even though it was burning, I told myself, don't stop. Yes, if you need to take a second break to get another 2 more reps, do that. But the evidence shows that if you can keep that tension in the muscle, even when it's burning, there's a lot of, I can't remember what it's called, like there's metabolic or something. I should know this before I say it on camera, but there's more tension on the muscle, more time under tension, and we know that is huge when it comes to hypertrophy training and building muscle. So if you can push through that burn, that's massive, that's huge. So that's what I'm trying to do with each of these sets. Even though it's burning, I try to tell myself keep going. If I need to stop, I will take a breath, keep going, but I'm trying to just go through that burn. Two more sets to go. don't underestimate those bodyweight squats. Oh shit. Oh my god. That's gonna kill you. That's gonna cardiovascularly, the lactic acid, the burn. Oh, that hurts. And you don't know if you want to breathe or drink water or just stop talking. Leg extensions are next. Okay. Oh, hang on. I have to get on my knees. Oh, fuck. Wow. Oh, that's what she said. So, leg extensions. You can see I'm sitting all the way back. The reason I'm sitting all the way back is because when we sit all the way back, you're opening up your hips. By opening up your hips means you're getting a greater stretch on the quad when the muscle is in its lengthened position. So essentially, when your heels are coming back to the starting position, there's more tension on those quads. And we know that can help with muscle hypertrophy. Now, I would only recommend this if your lower back doesn't hurt, and it's just a variation. It's not like, you know, if you sit more upright, that's completely wrong. No. Do what's comfortable, but if you've done, for me, I've done upright in the leg extension position for years. So it won't hurt to do something new at different variation. Hitting the muscle in different ways, especially as long as you're not hurting yourself, it can only be beneficial. So give it a try if you haven't. First set 15 reps. I'm going to try and do another 15 reps for the next 3 sets. Whew. Alrighty. Oh.
Okay, everybody. So I was able to get my 4 sets for the rep range that I was aiming for on the leg extension, and I always like to do my final leg extension. I always like to do, or not just my leg extension, any of my exercises, I always like to do at least 1 drop set, sometimes 2 drop sets, but my goal is always to try and push myself beyond failure for those drop sets. So if I can do that, then a second drop set wouldn't be necessary. However, if you want to maybe just put something, you know, different in your workouts, put a little bit more, you know, tension, or, you know, make your muscles kind of second guess or just push your limits, you can definitely incorporate as many drop sets as you want. But you don't want to go to the point of, because if you can do 5 drop sets, then how hard was your first drop set really? So 1 drop set, especially with a hard final set, that should be enough. So as you can see, even with this drop set, and I'm starting to fail, I'm starting to push some partial reps. So I'm really making that drop set count. So after doing my quad focus exercises, I move over to my hamstring focus exercises. Now, as you can see, I'm only doing 2 quad focus exercises, which was a squat and leg extension. I feel I used to be that kind of person that would do, 3, 4, 5 quad focus exercises. Now, by doing that and doing the same amount of focus on my hamstrings, I just feel the workouts go for too long, and I almost feel it's overkill. If you can really focus more on intensity, then you don't need as much volume. If you reduce the intensity, then yes, you're going to probably need to make up with volume, but that's, again, going to take up so much time. I'm at that stage now where I'm doing less sets and less exercises, but I'm really focused on intensity. So for quads, it's just two exercises that predominantly focus on the quads. Then I move over to my hamstrings. Now I'm doing a seated hamstring curl. Now, your gym may have this one, it may have a lying hamstring curl. Both are great exercises, and I've done the lying hamstring curl for years. So that's why I'm doing the seated. But the main difference is, if you've got the two and you're thinking of which one to do, the one thing I like about the seated hamstring curl is that when you are in the chair and when you're in the starting position, your hamstrings are already in a stretched position, and there's tension already on the muscle in the stretch position in the seated hamstring curl. When you go in the lying hamstring curl, the hamstrings aren't there. There's not that stretch, and that tension's not there. So by putting yourself in the seated position and having more stretch and tension from the starting point, that puts a little bit more emphasis, again, more tension when the muscle's in the stretch position, which I was talking about before when doing leg extensions. Same principle, is more tension on the muscle in a stretch position can help with hypertrophy. So that's why I'm focusing right now on the seated hamstring curl. But if your gym doesn't have it, the lying hamstring curl is still a great exercise and something I've done for years. So I would still recommend. I think both exercises are good. I wouldn't choose one over the other for the rest of your life. Choose one and do it for a block of time, whether that's for a month or 2 months, and then change it up. Or if your program has 2 leg days, you can do 2 leg workouts in the week. You can do 1 session in the week where you do lying, and the second session you can do it seated. So you can get the best of both worlds. I wouldn't say put one to the side and only choose one. I never do that. A lot of exercises have their place. And that can be used to help with hypertrophy and your health and fitness goals.
All right, last hamstring exercise we are doing is the hip thrust. Now, a lot of people don't like the hip thrust for hamstrings. They feel it more glutes. Now, I understand that, but I always feel it more on my hamstrings. I feel both, hamstrings and glutes. So we did the hamstring curls, which was more of the main joint moving there was the knee joint. Now we're doing the hip thrust, which was more the joint, like the knee is more stable and the hips is the joint that's moving. So it's good to hit the hamstrings. One exercise where the knee joint's moving and the hips are stabilized, and another one where the knee is more of a fixed joint and the hips are where there's more flexion, extension, and movement going on there. Hits the hamstring, different heads, different angles. So I like the hip thrust. I want to make sure when you're watching me, I don't put my heels too close to my glutes. I put my legs out a little bit further, and when I come to the top, I make sure I squeeze my hamstrings. Right? Even though when I say squeeze, obviously we're not getting knee flexion and obviously curling the heel to my glute, which is much easier to engage and squeeze a hamstring. But even though it's just my hips moving, you can still get a squeeze at the top of the movement. So watch carefully, because I really think, I really like this exercise for hamstrings. So you can do it more glute focused, but I've got the mentality of more of a hamstring focus. So watch carefully. Watch my feet placement first. Alright, so not feet back here, we're going to go feet more forward. Slight angles can make a difference. So, feet forward. get me wrong, definitely feel the glutes, but I definitely feel those hamstrings working for sure. So yeah, definitely doesn't have to be hip thrusts. As I mentioned, you want to do one hamstring exercise. Put my time on. Sorry. One hamstring exercise with the knee bending. So that's some sort of hamstring curl, whether that's seated or lying down. Hamstring curl. Then you want to do something where there's a hip hinge, where the knee is stable. So you might do an RDL, Romanian deadlifts. That's a very popular one. Not one of my favorites. It's a great exercise. Just me personally, I really like the hip thrusts. So one thing also keep in mind when doing this exercise, if you feel your lower back, you don't have to go all the way down. You can, as you come up to the top, and you slowly bend your lower your back, you just do lower it just a little bit and then come back up. Some people might think you're shortening the range of motion, which is cheating. If you feel like your lower back's kicking in, that's a really good cue I've found, where not going as deep or lowering your hips completely can put less pressure on your hamstring, on your lower back, sorry. The other cue you can do is when you come to the top, think ribs towards your hips. So almost embracing your core and pushing your ribs down towards your hips. That can also, engaging your core, can help just not let that lower back do all the work. So that's another cue there. Maybe that's a video, I might demonstrate that one on a different video, so it makes a little bit more sense. But if you can imagine what I'm saying, when you drive up the top of the movement, don't just let your core go floppy at the top. Push your ribs down towards your hips, engage that core. That can also really help as well as squeezing your hamstrings and glutes, but having your core switched on as well can really help. Okay, that's my last set done. Ooh, 4 sets, 50 kilos each side, 12 reps. Happy with that. I'm gonna sign out. I'm gonna now do a PT session with a client, get home, have something to eat. I'm not too in a rush to eat and have my post-workout meal because I had a really big pre-workout meal. And if you have a solid pre-workout meal, you don't need to rush home and get your post-workout meal in that 30, 60-minute time frame. The evidence shows now that as long as you eat before your workout, especially if you've got a good amount of protein, that there's no rush for your post-workout meal. Now, if you didn't eat much for your pre-workout meal, or you trained fasted, your post-workout meal is much more important. But because I had a solid pre-workout meal, there's no rush for me to get my post-workout meal. So I'm gonna do this PT session, then I'll go home and have something to eat. Anyway, signing out, and I'll see you guys for the next video. See ya.